This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Right, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend that is Manny Navarro. Follow him on Twitter. For those of you listening on the podcast, Manny_Navarro, and catch his work there at The Athletic. Better yet, subscribe like I do and support the great people at The Athletic. Manny, how you doing, my man? You recovered from that debacle over the weekend? No, Thursday night, that is?
Yeah, man. I enjoyed the weekend at home. No football to watch, no bad football to watch, although the Dolphins were on Sunday, so that is bad football.
Right. I was gonna say, hey, watch yourself there. We got some bad football.
Yeah, it was nice at least not to have to watch any of that on Saturday. I've recovered. I don't know, where Miami is at in its recovery, or if it will be a recovery at any point this year, but we'll see. I still got to cover the last 7 games, Big O. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, I know. And when you look at the state of the team now, right? And I know that there's this transition of, well, maybe we'll play the young guys, but by doing that, you start to also frustrations in the locker room with some of the guys that aren't going to play or aren't starting anymore. And I asked you last week, is he a great communicator? Because I almost feel like he isn't. And if he isn't, this is actually something that, while some may be excited about it, could also create some problems in the background.
Yeah, I mean, I think the positive thing for Miami fans is none of the older players are really holding up their end of the bargain anyway. So they want to get pissed off and leave. That's probably a good thing, right? That just opens the door even more for the younger players. Look, they're having one-on-one meetings this week. I know that. I know that they're talking to guys individually about their roles moving forward. A perfect example, D Wiggins, right? The receiver who was 4th on the team in catches last year, played a whole lot. They loved the way that he blocked. They thought he was a good blocker on the outside, which is why I think he played as much as he did. And now, he drops a pass against Central Connecticut State, doesn't get a single snap against Virginia. The freshmen have completely eaten up all of his snaps. I think, those are the guys that are having the conversations, right? Those are the guys that are probably saying, well, it's time for me to move on and transfer to an FAU or an FIU or one of these programs that would take us at the end of the year. So I think, there's those conversations. And I think there's also conversations with guys who are still part of the rotation that are being told, listen, your role is going to diminish in as the year goes on, because we have younger guys that we want to invest our time into. And that's just part of football, man. It happens at every program, right? I mean, essentially, it's just part of the deal. When guys who are on the field aren't cutting it, you got to go younger. And I think, there's some positions where Miami can do that. But I also think there's other positions where, while fans are clamoring to see the young guys, I think there's guys that just aren't ready yet. James Williams last week, for example, took a really bad angle on that touchdown run. He was out of position on the kickoff return that Appalachian State had. Like, those are mistakes that guys are going to have, and you have to live with it. But then there's also other guys who just either don't know the playbook yet, don't know what they're doing. So you may continue to see older guys play there because the younger guys just aren't ready to take over yet. I think at safety, once Avante Williams is cleared, you'll see him take snaps away from guys like Gervin Hall and Bubba Bolden, who just haven't had good years.
I don't mind Gervin Hall has a seat and warms that up for the rest of the season. What else are you hearing behind the scenes with Manny and the coaching staff? Are you hearing anything from boosters? Are you hearing anything from the administration side? What are you hearing on that end?
Well, Bruce Feldman, who of course does an excellent job covering college football and one of the best in the country. His background is covering Miami, and he's got a lot of good sources. Worked at ESPN with Manny Diaz and so forth, and so he's got plenty of sources inside. We were able to confirm that Manny's buyout is north of $8 million. So if they were to fire him in the middle of the season, they would have to pay him $8 million to go away, essentially.
Ooh.
And that's why I think more than anything, you probably won't see him get fired. Now, I think the other aspect of it is the players haven't quit on him yet. And that was evident in the Virginia game, because even though they were down 2 touchdowns, it was 27-14, right? They kept playing and they haven't quit. Now, I've seen Miami enough over the last 2 decades to know every coach gets to that breaking point. We remember Al Golden with the 58-0 loss to Clemson. Even at the end for Randy Shannon when they lost to USF at home, there's always that point where the kids stop, right? And they reach that sort of emotional wall, and then the coach gets fired. I think there's a chance that if that happens in the middle of the season, that Miami could fire Manny and put in an interim coach. But I think it would take a really, really embarrassing loss. And that's what I've said on my podcast, what I've told you now. I've told other people that. And I think Bruce sort of feels the same way, that because of the buyout, because of the situation where you don't really have somebody else yet, and you don't know who's going to do the next hire if you fire Manny, that you're sort of in a waiting pattern to see what develops here, and what's going to happen with Blake James. Is he going to still be the athletic director? All those are questions that are important to this process. And I think right now, the fact that the team is still playing hard for Manny, they're still trying, the fact that he's got a good nucleus of young players that are trying to get the program headed in the right direction, I think those are all areas that help support him right now from being cut.
Is there a part of you, because listen, I've never felt that Manny was ever going to get fired unless guys are committing crimes or something off the field. Even if they have a bad year money-wise, there's no way they're going to get rid of him. I didn't think of that. But now that you mentioned it, is there a chance that Blake James, like, okay, well, we can't get rid of Manny right now, but you know what? Let's start preparing on the other end, because Blake hasn't done anything. So let's go get another AD, and let's have somebody with fresh eyes look at Manny's situation, and maybe they can plan ahead if they feel Manny isn't the future down the line. Do you feel like Blake could be the guy on the hot seat this offseason?
It could be. I haven't got any indication from anybody that's a 100% done deal. I think while there's a lot of disgust on the outside and a lot of fan anger, I also think people forget that a big part of Blake's job is making money, right? And he got that Adidas deal done. He's raised a lot of money for the school, helped bring in, donors and so forth. And technically the feather in the cap is the indoor practice. Like, there's been things that have happened from a positive perspective in a team building sense that he's been responsible for. They just upgraded the baseball facilities with the new indoor batting cages and everything. He's working on the lot. So there's money that he's been able to raise to get the job done in that regard. Whether or not his coaches are having success, and then ultimately whether or not how much the university cares about that, is an entirely different situation. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I know that obviously there's a lot of external pressure to make a change, but internally, I've yet to really sense that anybody sitting there saying, "Oh, we got to fire the athletic director." I think it's always looked at as, is the coach doing a good enough job?
Okay. Losses to Alabama, Michigan State, and Virginia. Your wins are against App State and Central Connecticut. When you start looking at the rest of the schedule, UNC, NC State, Pitt, that Pickett kid, best passer I've seen since Marino in Pitt uniform. I got to say, I mean, Pickett's got a NFL arm, bro. Beautiful arm. Georgia Tech, FSU, Vatech, and Duke. How many wins left on the schedule?
Yeah, I think it's not, I thought before the Virginia game that they won that, they had a chance to win probably 7 to 8 games. The fact that they lost that, it probably knocks it down to 6 or 7 at most. I don't think they're going to be favored in any of the next 3 games, at North Carolina, at home against NC State, or at Pitt. So you figure let's give the benefit of the doubt and say they win one of those 3 games somehow, some way, right? That's 3 wins. Out of those last 4, they might be favored at home. They probably will be favored at home against Georgia Tech. Probably.
They actually, by the way, they can actually pass the ball now,
right?
At Georgia Tech,
right? No, what was making Georgia Tech look good was their defense, but then they just got lit up by Mr. Pickett and company.
Yeah.
So,
well, Dude, have you watched that kid?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
I
he's a good
love
player. He's a
I
tough
love that
kid.
kid.
He's a
Oh,
tough kid. He's the guy who knocked them off their 10-0 perch, by
I
the way.
know,
You remember
I know,
that?
I
He's the
know,
guy
I know,
that did that.
I know. But I was watching him this weekend, and I'm telling you, I haven't seen anybody since Marino fling the ball like that in a uniform.
Yeah.
I'm super impressed
Mark Whipple,
with that.
right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You are correct. I forgot about that. You are correct. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I don't know. I would think right now at this point, their ceiling is 6 to 7 wins. And I would say their floor is probably 4 wins. I would think they would beat FSU and Duke. I would think.
Right. Those are the ones that I'm looking at on the schedule. I'm going FSU, Duke, Georgia Tech will be tough. They'll lose to Vautech. They'll lose to North Carolina. They'll lose to Pitt. They'll lose to North Carolina State probably. The only thing I give them a chance in North Carolina State, it's because it's home. Maybe,
Right.
it's that
Well,
maybe if it's early in the day and the heat, I don't know. But I mean, NC State is still a better team than they are right now.
yeah, NC State is going to be a tough game for him.
For sure.
Devin Leary kid is a pretty good quarterback.
Yes.
I mean, any team with a quarterback that has a pulse has a chance to beat them because of how bad they are in the secondary
So true.
and
So
how
true.
many mistakes they make in zone coverage. Yeah, I don't know. I think again, I think floor 4 wins. I think the ceiling 7 probably.
That's crazy. The other thing, watching a bunch of college football on the weekend, dude, I was happy for N'Kosi Perry. Watching the Shula Bowl and FIU and FAU, and N'Kosi, at least he's gotten an opportunity to kind of close out his career on a positive note. And I give him a lot of credit because he started off so poorly with terrible decisions and immature acts and all that stuff. And to his credit, man, the kid's fought through all that stuff, shown some maturity, and I was happy for him that it just looks like he's having fun at FAU.
Yeah, I mean and to me, so many of Miami's guys, had they gone to a Sun Belt or Conference USA school or somewhere else, they probably wouldn't be as bad as they are at Miami.
Right.
I just think what we've learned by looking at guys like N'Kosi, is that and then even Jaron Williams, who's not playing at USF, right, is a lot of the players that Miami's recruited, they shouldn't be playing at Miami. I mean, if you're going to go by the old standard of what it is that they really are, people love the point and say, oh, this is such a talented team. They're underachieving with all of this talent. Well, there's a lot of guys that have left through the transfer portal. Besides N'Kosi, who's doing anything? There are no examples. Like there's not like some laundry list like, oh, look at this guy who's killing it at Illinois or this guy who's doing great. Like a lot of guys have gone on. And again, I think that has more to do. Like you can talk about player development or you can talk about just player evaluation at the high school level, recruiting wise. Like, what are they looking at? What do they see that makes them think that this guy can come to Miami is going to be a good player? That is just as much a knock on Manny Diaz and the previous coaches that Miami's had here, right? That they haven't done a very good job just evaluating guys. And there's been a lot of players that have gone to other schools, Louisville, Pittsburgh, from South Florida, that have gotten drafted and have done well and have become stars elsewhere. And they were lower rated kids. Maybe Miami needs to stop worrying about stars, how many stars a kid has, and go back to, hey, what do we really trust here? And
get better at developing players.
Right.
Get better at developing a team because that's what you used to do. And that's why you got Santana Moss as a track star and, Sapp was like a tight end or something like that. And, all the other things that they used to do in the past in converting players or finding diamonds in the rough and making them better at what they were. I'm with you all the way. The other thing I didn't learn because I already knew, and I was never one of those guys. But FAU just owns Butch Davis, bro.
Oh,
And then the part that also I add to it is I laugh because there were so many fans that were so blinded Butch, and I get it. Butch did a great job of recruiting, but as a coach, as an X's and O's guy, he's never really been a difference maker. Didn't win jack in North Carolina. The only thing he could do was beat Randy Shannon in North Carolina. That isn't much of an accomplishment, and he hasn't been able to dominate the Sun Belt or the what's it called now that they're at? They're in the
Conference USA.
in Conference USA now. So, I mean, either conference, which is a lower ring conference, and Lane Kiffin owned his ass. That's why Lane Kiffin's in an SEC school, and he's still stuck at FIU. I just wonder how many fans, after a couple of years of this, have gone and sat back and said, yeah, you know what? I was kind of wrong about this. Yeah, Butch wasn't going to be the answer either for the University of Miami.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like Butch must have made a deal with the devil or something, right? Hey, just let me beat Miami. I don't have to win any other games, because that's basically what's happened since he beat Miami. Look, I think everybody has their time and space, and Butch, and the time that he was at Miami, was in the perfect situation to thrive. He was a good talent evaluator in terms of picking guys to come to the program. But you're right. He struggled to win on the field. There were a lot of games that people were questioning, like, is this the right game plan? What are they doing? He was very good at collecting talent. And I think at FIU, and even North Carolina, he did a good job. There are a lot of good players he brought to North Carolina. But FIU is just a different animal. Like, you're always going to play second fiddle to Miami in your own backyard. And then, you're in a conference where, frankly, a lot of kids don't want to go to Conference USA or Sun Belt. So I think, you're always going to have that second and third tier kid. And when you don't have the best players to bail you out of situations, you end up like he is, where he's getting beat. Because on the field, X's and O's wise, I don't know that that's where he's strong. His strong suit has always been identifying players and bringing them in. And, FIU's produced a couple guys, right? I mean, they've had guys that put in the NFL, so it's not like he's terrible at that. I just think collectively, when it comes to the coaching part of it, I just don't think that's his strong suit.
No doubt. Jonnu Smith is a product of theirs. So, yeah, I'm with you there. As always, follow him on Twitter, Manny_Navarro. Catch his work there at The Athletic. And, of course, catch him twice a week here, Tuesdays and Fridays, talking a little Canes with our Canes Wear Miami Hurricanes report. Manny, as always, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you big time.
Good talking to you. Take care, man.
Got it, baby. Be good. There you go. The great Manny Navarro and our Canes Wear Miami Hurricanes report.